In the same panel as the Padmapani, a couple in harmony. And it is this sense of harmony which pervades the whole world of these paintings. There are these thousands of figures which wreath the walls of the caves. And all of them, everywhere, there is this sense of harmony which pervades it all. You would notice the beautiful rendering, which the gradual lightening and deepening of color, which persuades the eye of the roundedness of form. On the left wall of Cave 1, the Mahajanak Jatak. King Mahajanak, the Bodhisattva Mahajanak here, listens to the sermon of this hermit. You would notice the antelope, who listened with as much rapt attention as any of the human figures. For in this vision, there is no difference between the animals and the people. We must recognize that all this art, this huge amount of art, was created with very specific purpose, to help us on this journey, to help us to understand ourselves better, and to understand that which is beyond our material concerns. Having heard that sermon, King Mahajanak decides to give up his palace life, to give up his worldly life, and to go into the forest to become an ascetic. The ancient Indian treatise of painting, which was penned around the 5th century, the oldest known detailed treatise on art making which we know about, gives these thousands of guidelines to the painter, how to make different human figures, how to make animals, how to show different expressions and feelings. And among these, it gives 5 different ways of making eyes, different shapes of eyes that would convey different expressions. So her eyes here are made in the way which is meant to be to show that she is sad or weeping, as indeed she may be, for her husband is going to leave her. You might notice the pearl strings which dangle below her bosom, and you might notice a slight curve in those strings which persuades your eye to the movement. It is details like this which are found everywhere in the Chitra Sutra. The Chitra Sutra expects a very high quality of art of the painter. It expects the painter to be able to depict the movement of leaves in the breeze, to depict the movement of waves in his medium, which is in fact unmoving. The exquisite paintings of the Bagh caves, Buddhist caves in Madhya Pradesh. And what a high development of art. You see the foreshortening of the bull in a 5th century paintings, and a graphic quality in this which could hardly be surpassed till today. I'm afraid not. Not restoration. I think preservation is extremely important, but restoration not at all. Because every line that is made by the artist expresses something within him. It is the grace within him which makes a work of art particular and beautiful. So no matter how carefully we try to recreate those lines that have been lost, we can't do it. It's much better to just preserve what there is. And sometimes it still conveys the feeling. I mean, in the case of King Mahajanak, half his face is lost, but the expression is fully there. There is no doubt about the expression. It conveys everything that it may have conveyed in its intact state. But the moment we take that and start, we very much more flawed people of our century, if we try to restore that and put it there, it will become us and not that great painter of the 5th century. If you feel that compassion and grace are feminine qualities, then these are paintings made by feminine beings. As a matter of fact, in Buddhism, compassion is given to the male personification. It is wisdom that is given to the female personification, and compassion goes to the male. And when I've shown these images in Western countries, they think the Padmapani is a woman. Or there was another painting I used to sometimes show of King Nanda. They were absolutely sure that it was a woman, because the expression of that kind of grace, they did not expect to see it in a male figure. So I would say, really, from my understanding, that we need to examine some of our thoughts when we are looking at ancient Indian art. Because it seems to me that the ideas were perhaps different. Just like this, that you see that the concepts of nurturing and grace were allowed as much to the man as to the woman. And what do you see in the female personifications? I mean, the vigor inside us, with which we would combat the demons of our ignorance and spare the demons of our ignorance, is given to a female personification, Durga. So I think some of our ideas today, our post-colonial ideas, may not exactly apply so well. But I would like to say that in the ancient inscriptions, in many sites, the donors, the majority of donors are women. So certainly you have a very high position of women in that society. I believe it is the patience probably which has more results than many other things. I mean, if these paintings are as good as they are, it is because of the devotion with which they are being made. And more than anybody sitting down to teach those painters how to paint, it is devotion itself which is, I think, the main thing. Besides, I would like to say that why are we in this age today so wary of that which is beautiful and that which is idealistic and that which is divine within us? Why have we become so obsessed with the fact that everything must have certain negative associations? We have a vision of life which tells us constantly that all that is beautiful is to be found within you. You have Parvati within you. You have Durga within you. You have Shiva. You have Vishnu. You have Buddha within you. You have so many beautiful things inside you. You need to look within. And with that noble confidence of finding those qualities there, I do fear that there is a vision of life which pervades the world today, which begins with the human being as a very flawed person. And I do feel that the history of this country, when you really start looking at it, provides you wonderful images of how life can be. So I don't think this is idealistic in a negative sense, but I would say it is idealistic in the most beautiful sense. In fact, in a vision which is not hypocritical, the practical and the ideal should never be separated. And we are living in a world today where beyond a point when you're talking about that which is beautiful, it could be said that, but this is ideal. This is not practical. No. that is only because the kind of vision which we are following today, this highly commercialized kind of vision where human beings are made into some kind of tools to be used by other corporations or whatever it is, countries or armies. I mean, there is a great and wonderful journey within, which is very beautiful for every human being. And that is really, I think, what all this art is reminding you of.
I think the audience is delighted with the enchanting journey in which Mr. Benoy K Behl took us. I'm sure in turn he is happy that we had an informed audience which was interested in a stimulating discussion, which I have to bring to a stop because, as Professor Setter remarked, it has to stop at this point. But doesn't stop. It can continue. We hope our association will continue.
Indeed, delighted on behalf of NIAS to propose a vote of thanks for this really splendid odyssey, as I call it, which we've been taken through. And I know that from experience, having traveled with him to parts of Tamil Nadu and Tanjavur, where I think in one day, in this whirlwind, he would just take in so many temples and so many monuments. And at that time also, we were looking at some of the temples of this remarkable widowed patron, Sembian Mahadevi. But what was also such an enriching experience was the way he shared with us so much of inspiration that he has gained from looking at these artworks, each loving expression, each little being or animal, and the profound inspiration that he has drawn from all of this, which I think is also something to really take back and which really illuminates all of us. And I think he has captured it in a way that perhaps almost, I think nobody in this country has quite been able to capture these paintings and in these very remote parts of this country in quite this exciting way, and to have portrayed it to all of us in such a loving fashion. And he's accumulated some collection of over about 30,000 slides traveling to every nook and cranny.